after I said like my first words in the microphone, it just clicked. I don't know, it felt like home in a sense, in a weird way. It was home, and it was just empty, just wooden floors, but it was home in a weird sense. This is the spot. This is where you're supposed to be. You found it.
If you have a passion for music, can you make it into the music industry? Today, this is the Voices on the Wind podcast, and my name is Maverick.
My name is Toby Lyles, the father of my esteemed son, and this is Winct.
My childhood was less than ideal, as, a lot of people's are. And how do we want to go through this? So I was bouncing between a lot of different parental figures. I didn't have necessarily a very stable upbringing. So within my youth, I moved with my mom to this new house over in Sun Valley, and I fell in with necessarily not the wrong crowd. It was quite the wrong crowd, but that kind of got into a lifestyle of getting into some smaller substance use around the age of 12, and doing a lot of not necessarily good Samaritan things. So
that's a great way to put that.
Yeah. So statute of limitations is passed, but we don't want to, bring anything like that up. But anyway, so outside of that, I also I always have been a very different individual. I mean, in terms of fashion, what I am into, and just, all of the things that I enjoy and how I like to present that to the world. So that led to sort of a large amount of ostracization amongst kids, as they tend to do. Beats me. But with all that being said, music was sort of a therapeutic thing as I was youthful, and thankfully, because of all the different parental figures, I was able to get a large variety of different, types of music. Everyone has their own taste, so I'm getting Prince, I'm getting Crosby, Stills, and Nash, then I'm getting Eminem, Lil Wayne, all of these different influences, and as I kind of moved back in with my dad, I went to McCormick and Central, so moving out of the South Triad of schools, and I ended up just meeting new friends, and I was still, being a little bit of a bad kid, as they would say, with the friends that I met over on the South Side. But these new friends, there's this one kid, his name's Hayden, one of the most musically gifted, inclined people I've ever met, and we always used to hang out and follow the Colorado lifestyle, if you know what I mean. Okay. And one day we were just sitting in this shed, and they were like, "Oh, we should put on a beat." And then he started rapping, and seeing somebody else that I considered a friend that I looked up to, seeing that be able to be done, because I'd fell in love with all of the idols that I had made. I was like, "Oh, wait, I can do this too. I want to do this." And then I'm very obsessive. So as soon as I started trying, it was just try until I felt I was good at freestyling, which I wasn't. You're young and you don't know what you're doing, but I'm still going to keep trying. And so yeah, I think that's kind of what started it at the very youthful age. Is we don't have much going on. I wasn't in extracurriculars. I wasn't doing sports. I wasn't doing any of that stuff. We were being bad kids, and nobody knew how to play instruments. And the culture of hip hop is very much, what do we got? We can make a beat on this table. We can so on and so forth. And just being able to kind of tap into the creative side that I have been, gifted, and being able to express kind of whatever was going on at the time, during that time. And I would think that's probably why it started so young, and it was a bit of a self-expression in the sense of kind of dealing with the stuff. I think that kind of came in later and was more honed, but being able to, through freestyling, kind of just let whatever problems and issues that I'm having that I can't really communicate or articulate to anybody, I'm able to articulate them through, my music, and just let it flow out of my soul. And I think, like I said, I don't necessarily think that was very honed at the age of 14. We were probably just saying the dumbest of things, but it definitely was a start, and that was an aspect, because I wasn't, if I did write, I was writing, more darker things in line with how my life was going at the time.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that it was some sort of, you mentioned therapy a little bit, was it a
coping mechanism for sure? Yeah. definitely a coping mechanism. It's, like I said, it's very, very therapeutic for me, especially now in these past few years. Freestyling, I would say, is like my legitimate talent. Just being able to let whatever is nagging at my soul out over an instrumental is just, I hear a lot of people talk about flow state and like times where they're really focused, especially in the creative arts, and freestyling, when I'm really, really getting into it, that's exactly what it is. It's a flow state where whatever I got that's troubling me is being said over some sort of instrumental. I always wanted to do something creative. Originally, my real plan as a youth was to do structural engineering. That was what I really wanted to do, was structural engineering. And then as I kind of started to diversify my habits, and while being in high school, being exposed to a lot of different information, I really wanted to do neurosurgery, because I'm like, that would be amazing. Those are just some things that fascinated me. Unfortunately, due to my past, and things love to escalate as they do. That's kind of how things went in high school, is the addiction and other issues, the other things that I was using to cope were increasing quite dramatically. And so outside of wanting to, do structural engineering or neurosurgery, or one of those things that I felt like would be sort of validating in a sense, I just kind of was trying to enjoy life and also stay alive at that point, if that makes sense. And then when it comes to music and the idea of following in the footsteps of the artists that I look up to, we'll say Young Thug, Mac Miller, Prince, that was always something that I was very interested in becoming and attaining, is that sort of level of success through musicianship. Now, again, things were in a wonderful downward spiral. It's giving me great stuff to write about musically now. But so I kind of was just spiraling, hanging on, and trying to get through the days, through the like formative years, I'd say like year 16 through 19, 20-ish, somewhere in there. And kind of just, I had ideas. Like I said, I started making music, I want to say probably 18, 19. I had gotten like a laptop, a little Scarlett and an SM58, and just started rapping in this coal room in my dad's basement. But I just never did anything with it. And it was always a second nature thing. Like, okay, I can go make music at this time, but the other times I'm going to be out partying or exploring abandoned buildings and stuff. Because that was another thing that interested me a lot.
It's so hard when you aren't given the right tools growing up. It sounds like you're using some substances, and it's kind of dark, and you're trying. I see you trying to do something. You've got big plans, even neurosurgeon, or even a musician. To the fact that you're gonna record in your dad's coal room. For people who don't know, this is a room that used to have back in the old days, they have a hole, and it was the furnace room, basically. Now our furnaces are there, probably.
So the furnace was in a separate room.
Okay.
But so this was like an attachment. The house was built in, I want to say, 1908, I think it was. It was over in the Avenues. So like first Cheyenne houses. And it's just this little, it's called the dungeon. It was always the tornado shelter, but it was their coal room. So they would shovel the coal, into the room, and then they would shovel that into the boiler. Yes. Now it just stored stuff. And when I got my studio, I needed a place to record. So I moved all the stuff out of there. I cleaned it up, which, oh my God, it probably hadn't been cleaned in 30 years. So there was a layer of dirt this big. And then, I cleaned it up and had my little studio that was like a little safe space, a little sanctuary down there.
I just want to describe it because it's kind of telling, because they're typically dark. Like you called it the dungeon, right? It's not a pleasant place to be. Nobody puts their office there on purpose if they haven't had the choice. So here you are, like you're wrestling with substances, and you're trying to record and do something with your life.
I can say there was a moment, and this moment didn't necessarily lead to getting into the pursuing of music, but I can say it was definitely like a sort of a breaking of the tension, and kind of the final foot dropping, as some would say. So one night, way back in the day, one of my biggest idols, Young Thug, massive rap star as of now, this would have been 2019. I was up all night one night. Don't need to talk about why, but they had just released like a clothing brand on Instagram. They were like just starting the rollout of it. And mind you, his account is probably 7 million followers. You're not going to get in touch with him. You got to go through a manager. Well, for some reason, I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep calling this account because it's a brand new account. So they haven't got any of the protections on it yet. So I kept spam calling this account. And finally, a different private account hits me up and they're like, hey, stop hitting us up. And I'm like, no, I just want to talk to Young Thug. Like, no. And they're like, all right, give me a second. So then I ended up chatting with Young Thug through his private Instagram.
Okay.
And I just asked him like a bunch of questions. You know, I'd always had dreams of like changing and influencing the world, real big dreams, but no idea of how to get there and still in that dark place. So, you know, getting to talk to him and kind of reaching out and asking all these questions was like very helpful and very motivating in a sense. Again, I always had a very particular and strange style, especially in Wyoming of all places. So one of the things that is burned into my mind was a message that he said, and it was, do what you want, wear what you please, f*** 'em. And that just was very motivating. But anyway, so that happened. Then I was working at Phantom Fireworks, and we were doing these 19-hour days. The worst shift I ever had was a 26-hour shift. Oh yeah, and I'm 17 at the time, wow. So got the work ethic, thankfully. But after that, I had used a substance and had like a bit of a overdose of sorts. It was not the greatest of times, and this was all within like the same month period. So like you had a very high and then a very low, and that definitely kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things. And I think that was kind of a breaking point. Like I said, like, okay, there is a chance that you can do these things and that whatever you put your mind to, you can accomplish. You want to talk to this person, you made it happen. Was it in the most respectful of ways? No, but it got done. Yeah. So then, you know, to have the darker aspects kind of fully consume and to have like a very close call with things was eye-opening too. So I was in this really weird spot in 2019 of like, okay, what do I do? And then I started working at the post office. That gave me massive financial backing at the age of 18, and I didn't come for money. So having like real adult money as a child with all of my friends who are now in college and broke was quite amazing. So then life was decent. I kind of put, you know, the musical dreams, not necessarily away, but just more to the back burner, still recording in the dungeon. I moved to Laramie and lived with my friends, started snowboarding, you know, found a kind of like a little bit of a life. Then I moved back to Cheyenne, and my grandfather had passed away. So then I kind of, and you know, I'd never like got completely away from the substance side of things, but they had been managed and put, you know, to the side. Life was good. I had things to look forward, and you know, I had a good job. I had X, Y, and Z. And then after he passed, that kind of triggered like a bit of an avalanche of things. So then things got pretty bad again. And then there was another close call with some stuff, and then that's when we get into, like I told you earlier, that February 8th performance. And something about the performance, it was nothing crazy. It was a little bar open mic, but just, again, kind of like even when I was younger and being able to learn, okay, I can freestyle. It was like, I can actually do this. And then having that like first step allowed me to, okay, I can do this, and this now. I have this first step here. And then just ran with it. And now I've performed at crowds of over 9,000. I played live on the radio with a band. Like it's all of these things have just happened because now I can visualize it and I can see it, and being able to see it. If you can see it, you can do it. It's just a matter of, you might not know exactly how to do it, but just keep trying until you do.
The gig, your first gig, was that a post office connection?
Yes. So it was the post office. This guy had transferred from wherever. He was a janitor there, and we just happened to connect. One day he came up to me. He's like, yo, what's up? Check out this track that my kid made. And I don't know why I wasn't like, at that point, I wasn't very self-promoting. I wasn't like, oh, look at my music. Now I'd shove it down people's throats because that's the world we live in. But I wasn't like that back then. And for some reason, I was like, oh, actually, yeah, I put out a song. Like, and I put out the songs, I want to say September of 2022, just onto YouTube, nothing crazy. And I like happened to show him the song, and he's like, "You should go check out this open mic called the Blue Raven." And it was terrifying. I'd say probably like top 40 scariest experiences. That's not very high, but anyway, my friends joined me, and then I performed. I actually ended up forgetting one of my verses, so I had to freestyle, and we'll circle back around to that because that's a lovely thing that happens now that I built a small fan base. And I ended up meeting Vontae at Wyoming Wave, Pocketbook Prophet, and a bunch of other people that night that they enjoyed what I did. Which I don't know how. I watched that video sometimes, and I just, But I don't know if they saw something or if it was just that look into the soul, because the tracks, especially back then when I was still within the throes of, the substance issues and stuff, were very personal, which most all of my music is very personal. I think now it has a more of a sheen to it, more of a polish, if that makes sense. So this was very crude, very raw, very to the point. Things are not all right, but we're here. So I don't know what the people saw, but I was given a lot of praise and a lot of hype, and made all those connections. And then it's almost the rest is history from there, kind of, in a sense. I ended up, also another weird little thing was the Lincoln was doing this hip hop showcase, I want to say maybe 3 weeks after that, or 4 weeks after that. And I happened to go over to Vontae's studio, and he's like, "You need to apply for this hip hop thing." And then I applied for that hip hop thing, and I got it. And then the wheels just kept turning.
What did it feel like standing on the stage? Your first show you've ever done?
Do we want to do the Lincoln or the Blue Raven?
It sounds like the Blue Raven.
The Blue Raven, very first. It was, like I said, terrifying, but it was also very natural in a sense. And I'll say this with most shows. I'm not a very nervous person as of late. I've had some anxieties, just that's other wife's fun stuff happening. But I was very nervous, very, very nervous before. But after I said my first words in the microphone, it just clicked, and I was sort of in that flow state that I get from freestyling. Same thing happened on the stage, and I don't know. It felt very like home in a sense, in a weird way. It was home. There was no furniture in the home yet, and it was just empty, just wooden floors, but it was home in a weird sense. And it was very nerve-wracking, especially when I messed up the verse and I had to freestyle and just come up with something on the spot. What I came up with wasn't terrible, it wasn't bad. It's something about that, I think resonated with me in the sense of oh, wait a minute, this is the spot. This is where you're supposed to be. You found it. You got lucky. You found where your calling is in life. And that's kind of, I think, how it felt at the time. And then as soon as I got off, I felt the same thing I feel after every show, and it's just exhilarating.
We're interrupting this story because I've got a great story from Edgefly. I have Janae Vidakovich. And, when I was a kid, I think some of the moments where I just stopped and I'd mess with wires and, tools, and I broke a lot of things. But I think that has built some core memories for me and strengths as well as for my kids. I did this. I just threw stuff in front of them all the time. You guys built something just for that.
Yeah, for the creativity. I think that's the other part of our CubeSat kits, is not just educational in the STEM, in the engineering and math and the electronics, the Arduino. It builds, their brain can just look at it a different way. And I think that's the educator part of me going, yes, this is why we have these kits as well, is because we want that creative outlet to be used in all different kinds of ways. And with our kit, they can do that. It's all bagged and tagged, and we have the curriculum to go with it, as well as videos. But it engages the student in that creativity that is so important. It's so important today for the students to have, and the kids to have that.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of research that goes behind that, and how important it is just to be able to sit down with nothing going on and then, play with stuff.
Yeah.
So this is play, this is fun,
Yes.
it's creativity. If someone's going to go find out more how to get this, where do they go?
edgeflight.com/VOTW.
That's the start of a music career, which, to be honest, I'm really tempted to go down that road. But this is a business podcast.
Yes.
And here you are, you're not yet clean, although, well, let's talk about that clean part.
Okay.
Let's get to because that's important.
So I actually, right before this open mic happened, this would have been at that point my like longest period of being sober in my adult life since the age of 12, 13. Wild stuff. But after I had, like I said, a really close call, I ended up reaching out to my really good friends in Laramie that I had lived with for a while, and I had kind of finally confided in them and been like, hey, this is everything that's going on. Things are not well. Everything is very, very bad, actually. And they, we cut my hair in the kitchen because it was scary. Because, when you're in the throes of addiction, I don't care about your haircut. So we cut my hair. We hung out there. I ended up taking that week off of work. And I just hung out with friends and had some people that took care of me and cared about my well-being. And that was, can never repay that back for them. I guess I will be. I'm officiating the wedding now. So there's your payment, guys. But yeah, they took care of me and kind of got me into a headspace where I was like okay with things. And then, and that would, like I said, that would have been January, like first, second week of January. That whole shebang went down. And then I had stayed clean for a few months. And then there was a relapse incident. And then this entered into a new cycle of where I would be clean for a month. And then I would use the same really bad stuff for the next year or so. And then I did that for the rest of 2023 until December 1st of 2023. And then we've been clean since then. But yeah, so that entire year I would kind of, like, I would do the dang thing and then be really peeved about it. And then stay clean for a month or maybe even 2 months and then right back into it because I think things were just very, still difficult at the time. The demons just don't walk away when you're like, all right, see you guys. They're still there for a while. But with having music to be able to pursue and something to put all of this energy and stuff into, it made it really a lot easier to not consistently use and be able to step away from it. Not perfectly. The end of December, my mother found out about all of the fun stuff, and then that just, I don't know, a flip really switched, and from there, I really, within the 2023 to December, I think I've released 2 albums. 12 singles, just doing shows, as many shows as I possibly could. And then I think I just finally had to add enough, and I was done falling back into that pit. And I think I had finally felt confident myself that I could break that cycle, and then I did. And so yeah, December 1st of 2023. And we've been good since.
When you saw that path ahead, was it like a business plan where you're like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then I'll get more, it'll be more lucrative, and then I'll be on stages and it'll be amazing? Or was it like...
It was a dream plan. The business came second.
Okay.
Which, not the way to do it, personally. I would highly recommend learning the business first. I learned my business pretty quick, especially compared to a lot of musicians and individuals that I've been with, but I also just have a healthy dose of the autism, so I like to learn things. So the vision never had to do with the money. The money was always a tool to me. So the vision was always to impact the world. Same thing I had said back in 2019. Same thing I had wanted to do way back ever since I could walk.
Yeah, there is, it sounds like, and it only makes sense that there is going to be a moment where you have to move. Like you said, it's not the playground, it's a business. And you have to go from this idea that this is going to be fun, I'm going to be on stages, to it's a real business.
Yes.
Do you remember that day? Do you remember the choice?
Yes. So we booked Dead Prez, there's the poster for him, to perform at the Lincoln.
Okay.
That we lost so much money. It was probably about 15 grand is what we lost.
Oh, geez.
I would say that whole situation and getting into the business side of things and learning about booking shows and making money from shows and merchandising. I have a really good connection. Shout out Lisa at Stitch and Print here in Cheyenne. If you have any embroidery or stitch and print needs, go talk to her. Shout her out. So that would have been October of 23. So again, still in a dark place of sorts, but getting there, we end up losing massive amounts of money from it. It happens. You live and you learn. You try again. So then book smaller shows, and I have my own like production equipment, lights, sound, PA. Only thing I need is a venue. So that what I say would be like the moment that I was this is a business and you got to take this seriously, because losing that amount of money was painful, very painful.
What were some of the first things that you invested in?
Studio equipment for recording. That was the first thing I invested in, was the studio equipment for recording. Making music with the original equipment that I had, cool, great. But if I wanted to be taken seriously and take myself seriously, then I needed to invest, the money into that. After that, I would say it was lights and my DJ setup out there. Then my performance side of things, I got my personal microphone, which is the Red Shure SLDX with that's my baby. If you ever see me perform, I don't use anybody else's mic. It's my own thing. And then in-ear monitors, again, performance, because recording and performing are my two favorite things and what I care the most about and what I want to be elevated. And then from there, it was getting the PA system and lights for the shows. And that's kind of, I would say, like the progression of stuff. And then outside of that, the equipment would be purchasing merchandise or inventory for this or websites or licensing. That's kind of where the money went, because there's so many different avenues of ways to make money within the music business that you can't. I personally do not think that you can do one thing and be like, okay, this is what will make me all of the money. Because unfortunately, as a business, instead of, I'm not a sticker business, I am the entire embroidery shop in a sense. Like we're not just making stickers. I'm not just making music. I'm putting together live shows. I'm promoting the shows. I'm helping out with sound for other people. So that was the progression of gear. And the reason for that was kind of whatever goals were I had at the time, not only for myself personally, but what was going to be able to generate the most income to put it right back into the business itself.
Yeah. You're prolific. You're pushing out content just consistently, frequently. Like once you started, as far as I can tell, it's just more songs and more songs. How much of that is your obsessiveness around music? Or how much of that is your... that may be the wrong way to put it. You told me you're obsessed around it.
We're on the... Yeah.
Okay. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But, or how much of that is you just understanding that in this business you need to keep going?
Yes. The
Frequency.
answer is yes.
Okay.
I'm very obsessive. And like I said, even with just like booking that show, I want this. So I've, again, opportunity meeting preparedness. I've got to talk to people who are within the industry and ask them questions about, okay, what do I need to do? Like, I got this. What do I need to do to grow? And I would say I've been very consistent overall, especially for the majority of musicians. But I would say starting like November of last year, I've dropped a single every 4 weeks. I started this Winct Days thing in February, where every single week I release like a fully produced, music video, live performance, new song, whatever. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So it's a mix of quite a few factors. It's obsessiveness, of course, because I want it and I'm willing to work with it and do whatever it takes. My prolific creation of how I create music, because if you don't have a catalog, you can't do that. So very grateful for that. But like how I freestyle and, record the songs, and it's all very natural. And I still have a lot to unpack and get through. So I have that aspect of just having a lot of content to be able to push. And then an understanding of the industry itself. So it's a mix of all of it. Because again, where you live due to social media, it's a fast food environment. And if you are not going to be able to catch a viral moment, which I wouldn't want to be a viral moment, I would rather have longevity, you have to build that longevity. And to build that longevity, you have to offer something that other people are not offering. And through these Winct days, through the singles, through the EPs, the albums, I am trying to hone in my brand and bring something to the table that you're not going to find anywhere else. And then it's hoping, fingers crossed, that things start to hit, which I've grown significantly since I've really locked in on this. But hoping that it really catches and goes outside of this market and continues to grow along with, doing shows outside of the market to feed back into it, because it's all one big thing. It's just taking what I started with and just growing that and, refining and expanding it. But things are not going to work out forever. You're going to have a lot of wins and you're going to have a lot of losses. And it's very important when you're going through those losses to not stop, but to keep going. Just keep trying. So if you want something to succeed, you just got to keep trying. And it doesn't matter what it is. It can be whatever kind of business that you're building, a music career, an influencing career, a podcast, anything. No matter how low it gets, you just have to keep pushing through. And eventually, I've never seen it not work. About 10 years, if you're willing to sacrifice 10 years, you'll eventually get there.
I really like Winct. I mean, even outside, we worked on a couple things, not much, but he's, there's making a business, and there's a dream that you make real, and those are very different things. And I love that that was his passion, making music. I don't think he didn't always know it, but that was his passion, and he used that to, well, for one, to get into a better place, and two, as just, man, it was such a dream. It had his emotion. It helped him move better. It was the thing he was good at. It was just all those things, and he made that real hard. He worked really hard to make it happen, and he still is, but he did it. And I just think that is one of the greatest things I think you can do, is put effort into making your dreams become real. I think that's, a lot of people say you can't do that. A lot says you can't make those dreams happen. And I think he's one of the people I've seen that he said, yes, you can. He literally did it. You hear the whole episode and you hear him literally just talking about how he made his dream real. And I found that incredibly inspiring. I hope others find that inspiring too, because I think that's really one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, I'm with you. He went after his dream. His mindset towards being authentic and just who he was.
Yeah.
And he just shows up as himself. And that is it's a struggle sometimes, and very inspiring. And of course, Winct is just incredibly hardworking and teaches us to keep producing content, keep going, keep moving. But he's generous, and he helped us out. Kind of off the record, he helped us out at a big fundraiser for the Children's Museum, and I don't know what else he's doing. Yeah. So, and when we talked to him, he had barely slept. So, some days he runs so hard, and it's just part of the deal. And he's willing to do that. So, really, really enjoyed Winct. Really like him, and most people do. So, anyways, may we all build good things like Winct is doing. Follow our dreams. Till then, my friends, happy sailing.